It's awesome. They're always forward thinking, which I love. They give us. So, the question here is, what do you want to see more of in 2026? More snow, more cold weather, warmer weather.
Oh, man.
Yes. We'll see what happens. But anyway, go ahead and enjoy your lunch, have your conversation. We'll get started here in just a few minutes.
So,
Kristen?
thank you, Mr.
Yep.
Dixon. I'm just gonna, so this is a mentee. This is one of those things where, thank you. You can scan the code there with your phone. Hopefully you can read it there, but it's also on the screens there near you. So that you can put in responses. You could be talking with someone and put in responses and it'll make a word cloud. When you do that on your phone, you can actually push yourself to the next slide. I want to just point out that this one has some statements that we're asking individuals to. So at some point in the conversation, move to that next slide. It's not gate kept. It's not like I need to move it. When you're in the mentee, one or more of you can move to this. It says people in my locality or communities have interest in this work. It's like a sliding, strongly disagree to like strongly agree. Engage in the community and the work of the RRTPO should be CTAC's priority. And I am recognized as a CTAC member in my networks. Like, how true or not true do you feel those statements are? So part of it is like talk. We know there's some people who've never met. It's just introducing some folks. There's some new members who have been here in person, that I'm even just meeting in person for the first time. So there's some music on, or there was. So we were trying to have a little bit of music on too, so that like sometimes when you come into a quiet room, you sort of feel like you should also be quiet. And so we don't want that to be the case. So we're gonna try having music on a little bit in the background whenever these meetings start to encourage that. So we're gonna turn that music back on and then talk to your neighbors, get up and stand. I'm gonna come around and start talking to people.
You don't have to stay in your seat.
Not at all.
Hi, thank you so much. I'm always on the lookout for a good little notebook and a cute sign on the cover. Yeah. Started out.
You did.
Very invited there.
That's
the only thing I can find.
They should.
In the room. That's a lot better.
Yesterday?
They have.
Like, did you have to deal
I thought maybe he was trying to be the bear.
Share.
Here, I'd like to see you again.
Jumping to holiday. Especially for like. So hot summer, you might as well not like. Right, they would die. You know how long that spring where it's. You're like, oh. That got.
Mostly care about.
What kind? You'll break.
Self-made.
Like.
Yeah.
Right after.
Yeah.
How we doing?
Fine.
Good to see you.
Yeah. So.
Down and out. Now I feel oh no, it's too much.
Transportation. Oh, no.
A lot of people like to push my neck. I'm bringing my neck.
Yeah. Well, you
Don't translate.
No way for
Denver, like, it was wrong.
Really actually.
So you just think.
Walking on the name.
Yeah.
Something about.
Yeah. Either mine. Afternoon, welcome to the Community Transportation Advisory Committee. We're gonna start off with doing a roll call and then slight change in the agenda, and I'll explain here in just a moment. Sarah Hugh.
Okay, Town of Ashland, Mr. Martin,
Here.
Mr. Root,
Here.
Charles City, Mr. Walton,
Here.
Chesterfield County, Mr. Plymale,
Here.
Mr. Richwine, Mr. Ida, Ms. Phelan. Here. Goochland County, Mr. Basham. Hanover County, Mr. Waddell.
Present.
Henrico County, Chair Dixon.
Here.
Mr. Weed. Newkirk County, Mr. Dismore.
Present on remote.
City of Richmond, Mr. Bunn,
Present.
Mr. Brackman. Ms. Erickson. Mr. Hutzler.
Here.
Chamber RBA, Mr. Boudreau.
Here.
League of Women Voters, Ms. Wisiger. Here. And Ms. Rosenblum. Equitable Transit and Mobility, Mr. Moore.
Yeah.
BCU, Mr. Leonard,
Here.
Mr. Cole.
Here.
BCN, Fatima, Ms. Kamara. Mr. Hankins. RVA Rapid Transit, Mr. Sanders. NAACP Richmond Branch, Mr. Minor. Mr. Willis. Virginians for High Speed Rail, Mr. Testerman.
Here.
Richmond Area Bicycling Association, Mr. Burnley.
Here.
Mr. Hamilton. And Span Center, Mr. Williams.
Here.
Do have a quorum.
Fantastic. I'll make a recommendation. Okay, slight change in the agenda real quick. We're gonna move item number 2 up to the top of the list. If you recall, we were doing some member share with some of our committee members, talking about some of the things that they may be involved in or engaged in that relates to the transportation component. And so we have James Hutzler, who's was voluntold to step up and do this, and he and Dumas and myself all have our little suits on because of the General Assembly in town, and James needs to get back for our transportation committee that's probably starting in the next 15-20 minutes. He's watching it diligently, he's multitasking as he's going, but he did want to present, so he came down to present up front, and so James, take it away.
Hey everyone, James Hutzler. In my day job, I work for the Virginia Association of Counties, and I'm very, very happy to represent the beautiful city of Richmond on the CTAC. It's great to meet you all, and if you ever have any questions, I'm gonna try to just run through a couple things that we've seen so far from all the bills that have been filed. Bills are still being filed. I think there's supposed to be about 3,000 this year, which is a bunch. The majorities in the House and Senate really are running with their majorities and are gonna file every bill under the sun. So this is just a very quick overview on what we've seen so far and what's to come that's at least relevant to this committee. I do want to start 64 House Democrats, 21 Senate Democrats. New executive administration is going to be Democratic, so they can really push through whatever they want. 53 of the 100 delegates that are coming have 4 or less years served in the General Assembly. So there's a really big cross section between, I saw earlier that outreach and education should be one of the priorities of this committee. And I 100% agree with that. The General Assembly needs to know what regional transportation authorities are, where the CTAC intersects, education. I know we talked last time about speed camera, education to some of the General Assembly members. And I 110% support all that and think it's relevant because of the newness of our General Assembly delegation. So yeah, I want to start off to say that the budget's tight, state budget's tight. That's what we've heard from all the money committees, all the finance committees. There's a lot of mandatory spending, pressures on the budget. Medicare is incredibly expensive. K-12 re-benchmarking, there's a bunch of other pressures. So while we do have a surplus in Virginia, there's not really a lot of money to throw around it at fun stuff, is what I'd like to call it, pet projects and all that. So we're gonna see a tight budget, basically. So transportation, the main things we've seen so far, I'll break it into two categories, transit funding and speed camera stuff. So transit funding, if you guys aren't familiar with the SJ 28 Northern Virginia Growing Needs of Public Transit study. The study conducted from a bill passed last year or 2 years ago and had to look forward for the growing needs of public transit in Northern Virginia. The study came out with around $400 million in dedicated funding needs to start around FY 28 to maintain current state of good repair and current operating. Up in the Northern Virginia region, there's also studies to help support all other transit agencies throughout the state or parts of that study. So we're seeing bills drop now. I'd like to highlight so you can read in your own time. Again, these bills are big. In my job, we haven't really dissected every bit and piece of these legislations, so I can't tell you exactly how they all work just yet because they are so large and impact a wide variety of taxes, services, dedicated funding. So I want to highlight HB 1179 from Delegate Tran, HB 900 from Delegate Sullivan, and I'm happy to go over this again, and if I'm talking too fast, and HB 978 from Delegate Watts. And we are expecting Senate companions of these bills as well. Again, all these bills have to do with the recommendations of the SJ 28 study. And so the things to watch and what all these bills kind of have in common are what is taxed and how. So there's a splattering of broadening the base sales tax rate throughout Virginia, what's taxed. I'd like to call it the Netflix tax, so taxes on digital property, taxes on services could be broadened. There's also how it's taxed, so lowering the sales tax in some areas, raising it in other areas, still broadening the base on what is taxed throughout Virginia. There's proposals of a regional highway use fee in the Northern Virginia and the Potomac and Rappahannock region, which is like Prince William County, Stafford County, Spotsylvania County area, to do a regional highway use fee. There's regional transportation network companies, which is an Uber and Lyft tax, so to say, to raise transit funding. There's regional retail delivery fee. So like if Amazon sends you a package, it'd be a 50-cent tax on the delivery that would go to regional transit, tax on commercial parking lots. And so these are all throughout the three different bills I mentioned. At some point, you know, you can't pass three separate you can't pass the three separate tax raising bills. At some point, they're all gonna have to be meshed into one, right? And so what we're gonna look for during the General Assembly session is the conversations between the House Transportation, House Senate committees, the money committees, Senate Finance and House Appropriations Committee on really what the General Assembly wants to do when raising this funding, if at all, even if it passes. We've not heard the executive administration's position on these bills just yet.
And these will all be statewide, not regional.
And again, that's also an idea. So a lot of the study from the SJ 28 bill was Northern Virginia
Right.
specific, but they've also discussed, you know, if we, and not to go too in the weeds, but if we put money directly into the Commonwealth Mass Transit Fund, which funds all mass transit throughout the state, you know, if we raise revenues and put it towards that fund, the Commonwealth Mass Transit Fund, every public transit agency in the state would benefit. Or we could just put it directly towards like WMATA or the Virginia Railway Express or the Fairfax Connector Bus, the NVTC, Northern Virginia Transportation Commission, their public transit services. So again, it really is whatever the General Assembly wants to do. And we're just looking at those options now.
Is there any movement on road use tax for the hybrids of the EVs?
Yes, that's also mentioned, a regional highway use fee, yes, I don't know if they. In the bills I've seen, and again, I've been looking at it for like maybe a day and they're large bills, I haven't seen any statewide. Changes to the highway use fee, but I have seen regional, so and what came out of the SJ 28 study was a regional surcharge tax, so for the Northern Virginia region and the Potomac Rappahannock region, if you had an electric vehicle or a hybrid vehicle. Or just a high miles per gallon car, you would pay an additional highway use fee that would stay within your region for transit purposes.
A flat fee, not based on guesstimate miles.
In this study, it's recommended a $10 surcharge or a $20 surcharge. I'm not too sure. In the bills, I haven't seen the specifics on that. But yeah, and also, again, not only all these taxes we talked about and broadening the sales tax base, but if it goes either to the Mass Transit Fund directly to fund public transit, or if it goes to the Commonwealth Transportation Fund, which is the overall transportation funding source for Virginia, so roads benefit, public transportation benefit, airports benefit. It really is too early to tell, and it's actually gonna be pretty interesting to see where these conversations go. And so that's all I have on transit funding per se.
Any intersection here with expansion of automated enforcement? I know that's been talked about a lot.
Automated enforcement, like speed cameras?
Yes, that's often considered like a revenue, a transportation revenue.
I'd say that currently speed camera revenue generated stays with the locality,
Okay,
and localities,
so it's not part of the same conversation.
no, it's not.
Okay.
Locality, and that's going on to speed cameras, localities currently can spend speed camera money on a wide variety of things. We see a lot of localities spending speed camera revenue on infrastructure upgrades, education, outreach, operations. And there's a couple bills, HB 994 from Delegate Siebel, HB 1220 from Delegate Delaney, and Senate Bill 84 from Senator Williams Graves. A lot is in these photo speed enforcement bills. Some of them have localities retaining the revenue generated from these, but can only spend it on certain infrastructure upgrades, and there's reporting requirements and a lot of quote unquote guardrails around these bills. Because I'm sure, as you've all seen in the news, put it delicately, the news has not looked favorably on the photo speed enforcement cameras, and the General Assembly is keen to put some guardrails up around these programs.
For sharing data, in other words. For sharing data.
For a wide variety of things. Yeah, so we also have to see what the final bills of these look like as well. Then there's two fun ones. One bill directly calls out the Central Virginia Transportation Authority, HB 571, dealing with the distribution of funding for this agency. And there's a fun electric vehicle bill, HB 324 from Delegate Sullivan. Really all I have. Happy to talk. Love my job, love transportation, love to be here. Always happy to talk.
James, greatly appreciated. Like you were saying, and the transit conversation is pretty strong with the legislature this year. So I would say there's a pretty good possibility that they will put some significant funds into transit. And it's not just gonna be Northern Virginia. They're gonna wanna give a little bit to everybody. And while it's not just transit, they are gonna be looking to try and help fund, parts of Southwest. There's some rural legislation in there for trying to help those areas out as well. So it should be a good opportunity to see some progress going forward.
Sounds great.
Yeah.
Well, let me ask one quick question too. With any of those, are we seeing any expansion or use of funds on commuter rail or Virginia Rail Passenger Association to expand that base or?
Or for like
Well, just with any of these
VRA,
revenue
like
bills.
Amtrak, or like.
Well, Amtrak or a VRE, we're doing a lot of expansion and rail's been very successful in Virginia. I think we set the record last year from the passengers. Any funding changes there or?
I can't speak to VPRA, but a lot of the transit funding bills should, I'd say at least as introduced, for the Virginia Railway Express. That was specifically studied in the SJ 28 Northern Virginia study, because they also have a funding clip coming, and especially after Long Bridge is completed in like 2032, that's supposed to be, they're gonna need an extra influx of funding for maintenance and operations. That extra rail corridor.
I think to your point, they are looking to fund more
Looking at
rail for sure. They're trying to figure out the way to do that.
Good.
Definitely expanding the rail lines from Long Bridge and Springfield. There's a bottleneck in Springfield will open up, and then you'll see more passenger rail. They talked about passenger rail going down to Blacksburg and even into Bristol. So We'll see, this talking about line from here to Raleigh, right?
Oh, yeah.
Christiansburg is
High
happening.
speed.
Yeah.
I mean, that is happening.
Yeah.
Yeah, it just hasn't yet.
I think they had $56 million November a year ago to finish the planning on that.
Thank you very much, really appreciate it. You know, you may need to head out, stay as long as you can, and if you need to go, totally get it, so I appreciate it. Sure. Okay. All right, next up on the agenda, yep, sure, yep. Yeah, thank you very much. Line along, I apologize. Before we go any further, open it up for public comment. Any public comment from folks not on the committee? Okay. Apologize that I was rolling along and
okay.
moved on. Yep, thank you so much. We're getting everything. It's going way too fast. So the next thing is the review of the approval of the minutes from the November 20th meeting. Those were in your packet. They were emailed to you. Is there a motion? Okay.
Well, I don't know. if
They need to be present.
Yeah, I mean, they need to be present to vote.
Okay.
I don't think they
You
realize.
wanna wait?
But yeah.
Okay, so we'll defer that and we'll come back to it, I promise. Right, so let's go into
Thank you.
presentations. Oh, everybody's back. So we are going to approve the minutes because we have to officially have folks who are here approve the minutes. We're approving the November 20th CTAC meeting minutes. Is there a motion for approval? Moved and second? Yeah, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, approved. Sorry, there's a question?
You have a question?
No.
Oh, okay.
All right,
Voted on the prevailing side.
so rolling on to the presentations and some of the additional committees discussions. If you remember last time we discussed, potentially just kind of brainstormed a little bit about talking with your networks and who we can get this group to go and speak to and have presentations or have conversations within the various different communities. And Kristen's gonna lead us through that conversation.
I am. Well, so when you came in today, there were a few things out in the lobby. You should have picked up the CTAC news. And this is something that I put together for every meeting as a takeaway. I still love print. I don't know about you. Digital's great, but I love to take something and write on it. And so this is serving the function of facilitating some conversation in the meeting today, but it's also a takeaway for you to kind of keep abreast of some things happening currently. I also put out, just as a sidebar, the Plan RVA most recent annual report, and you find those kinds of things out in the lobby too, but I brought them around. And I'm just, because we're talking about engagement, I want to make sure you know, if you're not subscribed to the newsletter, I hope you and everyone listening at home will subscribe to the newsletter. You can get there by this QR code, but you can also go to our website and go to the Get Involved page, and that will lead you right to a place to subscribe. They come out towards the end of the month, and they're really packed full of some good updates across the agency, even the CBTA and our TPO updates as well. I also want to point out, just on the table out there before you go, there are handbills of things. Usually the things out there are very current, so you're going to see matching the CTAC news is something about our natural resources plan that's open for engagement closing. You'll see that there's some handbill type of things. If you're going somewhere and you want to take those with you, pick up a few. You don't need to take a huge stack. If you ever want for me to send you a stack for you to take somewhere, that's just a quick email or call away. I'm happy to do that anytime about any of the things. So don't ever feel like you have to prepare those things, although you can download them. And then lastly, the near miss one is out there. Well, and I brought this one because I really feel like this looks a little bit like Representative Walton. I don't know, I chose that and I thought, so you're gonna have to go out and look now and find it and see if you agree with me. So I'm gonna sit back down now. I get excited about what we do here. So what we're talking about today is the LRTP 2050 update. We are in the midst of updating the LRTP, the Long Range Transportation Plan. Our current one expires later this year, the 2045, Connect 2045. And so the pathways to the future needs to be ready to pick right up in August 2026. That will take us to 2050. And we are federally mandated to update this every year for anyone who's sort of new to that process. So on the Yes, every 5 years. Every 5 years. Did I say something?
You said every year.
Every year, oh my gosh.
Like, no way we're doing that
Every 5 years, yes. You'll see that that's sort of down on the bottom, that upcoming in February and March, we've had there are a series of engagements, and this is the second of 3 where we're really going out into the community, where there's not sort of just a formal printed public comment or public notice that we might do a press release and have printed in the paper. We're actually on the ground in community, as you know, coming out to where you are, hoping you invite us. And so there are 2 things that are really the main focus, and you'll see that we're also updating the safety action plan. I think at the last meeting, you heard from Dan Mata a little bit about that. What I passed around, and the reason I have engaged is we're gonna go visit that. Ooh, did I have that all at once and not keep one? So this handout that has the star, that's kind of like you are here. This document back in front really shows you the process of how we manage the updates from a community engagement standpoint, the phases and when they're happening through this process. So we started this last year, and as you can see, we're at the top, February, March, and you can see kind of where we are. If you're sort of like, it's a big process, I'm not even sure what was the last phase, you can turn to the back page and you'll see where we started. The very beginning of this time frame starts with continuous education and outreach, and you can see that that's just ongoing throughout. So we don't ever shut down the LRTP Engage site. There is an open survey. If you visit my battery is running low, no way. If you visit the LRTP site by clicking on this button right here, and it's gonna load in just a second, you'll see that there is an open survey for you to just share some thoughts and ideas. So while it's not specific to the upcoming phase of talking about investments, there is always an opportunity for people to share their thoughts and feelings about transportation in our region. And that's an important thing for us to be doing, not to only invite comment when we have these specific engagements, but to hear from the residents across the region at any time about anything. And the transportation planners, I think, would agree. They want to hear what the community is saying. So you'll see also here that timeline where we are corresponds with this document. So I don't expect anyone here to sort of look at this document and you need to do much with it. It's just making sure that we share this with you at the kickoff of the LRTP update, that this is that guiding document of how we are scheduling things. You'll see that there's a 15-day public comment period coming in May. And so that's where you could also share about that. But we're gonna focus in on February and March. Is that okay? Because that's really the next time where we need your help. And that's a computer to start. Oh, I had it plugged in. Hold on just a second. That's fine. You'll be happy to know that we don't get new laptops at Plan REA every year. So my battery is a little on the older side and it's a little finicky. So the back page of this CTAC news, and we've been doing this now, I think, for the last 3 meetings, so that would be about 6 months of time, has a listing of the upcoming. We have in the past included some of the immediate past meetings and shown you where we've gone and what the engagement looks like. I decided for this one to only show you, really it's 2026, it's not FY26 because that would go all the way back, but it's January through what we have booked or tentatively booked. You'll notice that on this list that there are some very specific LRTP and even some mention of CTAC booked engagements. And I'm trying to make sure that we're doing that on that side so that internally we know some of these events we're going to here are not specific to LRTP. They might be talking about our natural resources plan. But this is Plan RVA, myself, Holly, sometimes other staff, going out into the community to talk with the public. What we want to make sure you know is that when it says regional, that could mean that we're going to be talking to Goochland or Powhatan or Hanover or Ashland or Richmond residents, but the event itself isn't specific to one locality. Where that is true, like the Hanover NAACP or the Goochland Baptist Church, that's going to just say Goochland. So I don't want you to think if you are saying, hey, I'm not showing up, I don't see anything in my locality or where I do business, or my networks are, it does not mean that we're not reaching those people. However, I would say that it would be incredible, I think, to not be able to fit the next 2 months on one side of a page. I would love to have an entire front and back just be where we're heading. And particularly because this next phase of the LRTP, as you can see in the kind of logic model handout, it's telling you that we are going out to talk about the universe of projects and where should we invest. So we're gonna be asking the public, here are these scenarios of the ways we could invest in transportation infrastructure for the future. And, you know, scenario planning is a model that we use here that brings in a lot of different factors for each one of those scenarios. So we'll be sort of showing people these menu options, if you will, and asking them to explore and think and talk with their neighbors about it and give us feedback on which ones they like, what do they think, where should investment go? So you can see how that kind of feedback from the public could be helpful to you in this room and certainly will be helpful to the process of updating because the public will have spoken. But honestly, it's only going to be meaningful if we actually have sort of statistically meaningful reach in the community. So if 100 people across the region, if they only have 100 responses during that time, sometimes we're, you know, you can imagine what you would think about the value, the validity, and how we're really getting through to people and whether or not their real desires and wishes are reflected in the plans. So ideally, that is where CTAC comes in. And so several of you have already initiated with me. We've been in talks about several conversations. I didn't put people's names next to those, but you'll see CTAC led or CTAC tentative. And I'm really hoping that this time right now, we initiated back in November, thinking about like one place. Where can we come? Last night I was in Blackwell community. I was invited by Representative Moore from the Office of Equitable Transit with the City of Richmond. And we're actually going to be leading an activity the following month, but I was able to go last month and just meet people. I stayed for just a little bit of time, but next month we'll be going back to lead an activity. We're hoping to be, Mr. Waddell is gonna be connecting with some students at Randolph-Macon, some students at actually high school potentially. My son is an Atlee senior, I'm like trying to get in there too. And there's another group in Hanover that he's interested. Mr. Dismore in New Kent, we hosted the town hall. We're trying to maybe not do something quite that big. We'll also be going to New Kent, as I understand from Amy Inman, to do something more formal. The Goochland Church activity. Mr. Basham will be coming with me to go to that. So ideally, you would be coming with me, we would be working, and most of the heavy lifting of the event would be on me. But it's hard to get knocking on the door of a church and saying, hey, let me come in and tell you about investing in the future of transportation on a night when they have to move something else off of their agenda to make room for something that otherwise, who am I? So I've talked for a long time, but I wanted to make sure that you have the document showing you where we are in the process, that there will be one more of these periods where we need to get out in the community. And I want to be in those rooms where there's spaghetti being served and children running around. And yes, I can come and be there in that room too and make it fun and inviting and something that people really feel like their voice was heard. Questions or comments?
I've got a quick question.
Yes, sir.
And shame on me, who's currently on the Long Range Transportation Planning Committee and who's the CTAC representative? I don't know.
The advisory work group?
Yeah, John, Mr. Leonard is.
Mr. Leonard.
Yeah.
Okay,
And Dorian Allen is here and he's leading this LRTP at this point too. So if there are specific questions about LRTP, you could speak to him, but any other questions about what does it mean to work with me or Holly to set up something in your locality? I'm gonna be very vulnerable and say that our reach in Powhatan, I think is somewhat hindered because we don't have a member from Powhatan on CTAC. But that doesn't mean that we don't have other ways of making relationships, but it's very challenging to balance time and building relationships across 9 localities. And so the fact that we have representatives is partly how we're getting to some places that I think quite honestly, we might not be able to. I couldn't have gone to the Groves community and said, let me come in and set up this event and have 100 people show up. There would be no way for myself or Holly to do that. So your connection is extremely valuable, and anything that I can do to make it easier for you, I bring everything. In other words, we're just eager to make sure that when we say the public weighed in, the public really did weigh in. And we want to see groups that we have not seen before talking about transportation in these data collection. So they may be talking about it, but are they actually telling us in a way that we can capture and reflect? Those are very different things. Everyone right now is talking about transportation because they're talking about fatalities, they're talking about safe streets, they're talking about the condition of streets. But answering a survey about future planning for the region is a very different thing. So it requires another level of invitation and time for people to spend time looking at scenarios for the future. What's beautiful is that because we'll be also talking about the safety action plan, the questions about safety will be welcomed into this other tool that will be right there and very easy to use. So this is a really dynamic time. So think about it that way. Do you want someone from the Planning Commission to come and talk to you about safety planning, but also about how we're planning for infrastructure investments in the future in the region, and you could have a say in that? That's the pitch right there, if I could. Yes, Mr. Waddell.
To draw a contrast or maybe a question, are the focus of some of your outreach, information sharing, and the other part at a different meeting, information input gathering? What I'm asking is you got Hanover Planning Commission tonight at there.
Yes, sir.
You're probably not going to be able to get input, not criticizing. You can make yourself available in the back, but then with the John Randolph Society, which includes graduates and hopefully students, you can engage fully in that. So you've got basically two formats, am I correct?
You're exactly right. I mean, our pronged strategy for engagement is part listening and building relationships, which is not going to get and say, let me have, and only be transactional in a way that asks for things. I am a Hanover resident, so I'm going to my planning commission meeting. I mean, it's like I get to double dip. I want to go to this meeting. And I'm there to listen to how the residents are talking about. There's some things on the agenda tonight I'm interested in that could actually inform me later down the road. I might meet somewhere that would build a relationship. So we aren't just thinking of this as, I went last night, for example, because I wanted to introduce myself before I was coming and to bring a few things to sort of have them distribute if they wanted to. So this is what I mean by the time that it takes for people to kind of get to know who you are and why you want to be there. I'm going to another meeting. I just got the email yesterday, confirmation. It's a Belmont community association in Henrico. The way that I got to that meeting was I went to a SPAN Center listening session at the Henrico Library, Libby Mill. And in that session was a woman I know from my personal life who was there answering the questions in the listening session. We got to talking and I was telling her what I do and she said, well, you should come to our community meeting tonight. I mean, this is the kind of people that are out there. They want to invite you. The president got my email, said, please come. I was able to share with a room of 57 people, all in the 55 and older bracket, about near miss, about the LRTP. And now I wrote back and said, it's time for me to come back, because they said, absolutely come back. There were police officers there. And I fully expect that for the third engagement, I will be invited back. I mean, that is true relationship building with a community. I didn't bring that community together, but they were eager. And how often is a planning commission saying, can I knock, can I come? So I'm looking for opportunities wherever I am. And thank you for bringing that out. I am not standing up to present. I'm not going up to the podium.
Sometimes it's just being present. And Charlie, I'd add, that's also the reason why we have our Engage site, is so that there's a place for people to go afterwards and continue to learn more and make an action. I'm always trying to make sure there's some sort of actionable step if possible, so that people feel like, oh, I'm excited and I have information now. What can I do about it? So we're using all of these pieces in concert.
Thank you. My philosophy on information, if some's good, excuse me, more is better, too much is just right. especially Hanover. Thank you.
I'm so glad you want to volunteer part-time to come and do the too much with us, because I'm all about too much. I'm a maximalist, absolutely. I'm sorry I lost ability to project, but the Engage site really is your best friend when you want to say, and I think having something like this in your hand when you're going out, that the QR code leads directly to that page. Not only will they see the LRTP site, they will see natural resources, because those are the two things that are open for formal engagement, where there's a survey or something. Right underneath that are things like near miss, like the air quality plan, the SEDS, community comprehensive economic development strategy. They're gonna learn about all other things. And that follow button is really important, which I had up here earlier. If you follow a project, when there's an update that we do, they will receive that update personally to say, hey, it's open, or there's a new something, or there's a report. So this tool is pretty special. And we've harnessed it in a way that I think is there to aid you. So every one of them has toolkits with these things to download if you want to. I cut them into this nice size, so just let me do it for you, but any other questions? And you just have to email me. I've got a place. Kristen, let's talk. One is what I'm asking. Actually, I'm frankly, really asking that everyone on the committee would have one place that they would be asking me and booking with us. And I think we all want to feel that when we come back in the March meeting to say, which will be 1 week after the symposium, like we had at least the number of people who serve on this committee, that's how many meetings we had, and that means they must have been in the localities, and look for the places that maybe don't often get asked, I would say. So I'm giving you that charge. I want to work with you, and I'm here. My job is to support you, and it is actually my pleasure to do that. So you're not bothering me ever at any time.
There's 20 people in this room right now.
And online, right? It is
I
more.
included
I
him.
think he's got 100 people,
I
so
included him, right?
you're actually working against his 100 people.
Right, meet that number, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm kidding, but thank you. I hope I haven't gone.
Yeah,
over
no,
time.
I greatly appreciate that. I'm still working to try to get you into a Rotary Club. They tend to fill up fast sometimes, those speakers, but they're always looking for speakers. So if you know of a Rotary Club, I think that's a great place good venue to get a broad spectrum of other folks as well. So we'll get you there. Okay, so keep working on that, your homework for next month. Rolling on to the next meeting, or the next topic, number 3, is the Pathways to the Future Symposium, which is Friday, March 13th. I think I went to it last year. I thought it was really, really well done. I know you guys try and mix that up a little bit, but I want to hear a little bit of what you have going on that.
So save the date. We have not announced this publicly yet, so you're some of the first to hear about it. And I guess whoever's watching this recording later. So this is an event that has morphed a little bit over the years, but started as a way to bring the public and interested parties together to learn more about what their government regional planning agency was doing and what are some new things that are exciting, what are ways that people can get involved. And so each time we do this, we are tweaking it a little based on what is exciting, what's new, what do we have to share. And so this will be a gathering in March that will be primarily about 2 topics. One is the LRTP, right? Because that's the biggest transportation thing we're doing right now. And so it'll be activities around scenario planning and investments and how do we understand how to contribute. So it'll be one way we'll get several hundred people in a room to give us some input, just like in the past. And then the other will be about our market value analysis. So that's actually something that's an update to one that we did 2 or 3 years ago, which is about assessing all of the pieces of information that make up what our housing market looks like in the region. I'm not an expert on that, so apologies if I don't get all of the terminology exactly correct. Is there anybody in this body that's on a steering committee for MVA? I don't think there is. Sometimes we have a lot of overlap, right? Is because housing is connected to everything else we're doing. And so what the MVA is there'll be a new update of data collected in all of the 9 localities. The last time we did this, we only had data around Richmond and the urbanized parts of Henrico and Chesterfield. We have gotten funding to expand it so that we are making baseline information about not just pricing of housing, but availability, occupancy rates, rent versus owner. So what it's telling us is where is there opportunity for investments? Where should we be paying attention to? Where is there opportunity for displacement? Where is there no longer affordable housing based on what the demographics are for our region? And we know this is not a new conversation, but it continues to build on itself. And so we're trying to provide the backbone, the data, the planning for how we can get ahead using good data to make good decisions. And so there will be kind of a release of what that information is and an activity at the symposium about how we might reimagine what housing looks like based on that data and how we will connect it to transportation, right? So last year's symposium, we talked about our regional strategic plan, which is here, which is talking about interconnected themes, right? Pi Day last year was all about everything is pi, all of the pieces have to go together. We are trying to be better about explaining to folks all of these things connect, right? We need to know where the housing is to know what kind of transportation we need to get there. We need to know where the jobs and the economic development is happening, so we ensure that we have transportation to get people to all those. So for those of us who do this kind of work, we know a little bit more about this maybe than the average person. But what we're trying to do is invite people to the conversation to understand better and see how they can participate. So that's not very different from what we've done in the past, but those will be the two focuses of this particular one. So what I'd love to hear from you all today is who is interested in kind of raising your hand to say, I would like to be a part of the CTAC delegation that shows up well at the symposium to represent the body. And so that's really just, hey, I'm gonna have a nice name tag and I'm gonna introduce myself as like, hi, I'm Upton from Town of Ashland and I'm a CTAC member. So that also the public can see, these are the folks that are representing your localities and the issues and the organizations that you all represent, and that you can, bring your expertise and participate. So we will probably have more distinct roles for you for like what we think we could have you do. We're still working out the details of the actual day, but it'll probably be around a 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. kind of window, one session in the morning, lunch, session in the afternoon. It will be free and it will be at the Richmond Times-Dispatch location, their headquarters building in Mechanicsville. We're gonna have the Hanover, our RTPO official and their county administration welcome us and represent Hanover well. So we also like to make sure that we're getting out into all of our localities wherever we're hosting events. So they've said yes to hosting us there, and we will probably announce this towards the end of January as far as getting registration open. So just hearing about it a little bit early, but that is essentially the overview of the day. Questions about that before I get some like, hey, anybody want to raise their hand and tell me they want to show up?
So as far as the housing, who are you engaging? I mean, where are your data coming from? Realtors and like Virginia Housing is paying for lunch, which they probably would gladly do.
Housing is actually someone we have applied for and received a sponsorship for to help us pay for the event. So that was actually something unrelated, that they have money for events that are related to housing. We're like, hey, we would like to apply. So we have been granted funding for that. So that's part of what's paying for lunch, yes. As far as what's backing up the MVA, I'm not sure I could honestly tell you all of that. There are a lot of players involved. It's the housing folks, it's the nonprofit community, it's the people who work PHA. Yes, realtors are involved. The steering committee is people who work in and around that, as well as locality governments. So the locality governments are the representatives because we're doing it at their request, essentially. I can get you more details if you'd like, but I don't have all of that.
Yeah, I'm just curious, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, Charlie?
I'm almost hesitant to ask this detailed question, but what is our definition of affordable housing? Is there an official or is it regional median income or?
Yeah, there are, I don't know it without looking, but there are federal definitions of what it is based on, median income. And then there's a conversation sometimes about whether regionally that's slightly different because it tends to be in Richmond City, it's different than the regional answer. Yeah, if you know, I'm happy
Now,
to share.
affordable housing is 60 to 80% of area median income.
Area median, AMI.
That's
which
right.
is-
It's all based on area median income.
And in the region, it's like 110,000 is the area median income for the Richmond region.
It might be a little lower. Yeah, regional is a little bit higher. Richmond
The
is some a
regional,
little
yeah,
lower.
Richmond, the city Richmond is like 60 something, but regionally, which is all the 9 localities, it actually might be bigger than, I think it's actually larger than our footprint, is around 110. And so that's the definition,
I
yeah.
thought I heard something the other day, 30% of like 2.5 times the poverty level. So that 30% spent on housing is considered affordable.
Yeah, 30, that's no one, no matter if you're a millionaire, no one,
Right.
30% is the target.
Yeah,
And James and I were talking before this meeting, this building was financed by Virginia Housing at 4% tax credits, 20% of the units are at 80% of AMI
right.
or below, and then the other 80% are market rate. So it's all AMI driven.
Right.
You said no one should spend more than 30%.
That's the goal. If it's more than that, you're.
Is that a problem?
I gotta call my wife.
You're considered a housing burden, yeah,
Yes.
exactly. So this is clearly a hot topic in the region, right? And it's a newer area that Plan RVA has been working on, but it is a part of our work plan. And so we're trying to make the connections to all of these things. So it's an exciting time to be talking about it. Emily, do you have a question?
I just wanted to shout out that Bill Dismore was at the meeting the other day where we were going over some of the data. So we
Oh,
do have
okay.
a little CTAC crossover, and as you might imagine, since we had conducted an MVA in 2022 using data from 2021, it looks a lot different this year than even so few years ago.
Yeah.
So it's gonna
Yeah.
be exciting to see.
Charlie?
Can I ask her a question? The data is different. Is it trending which way?
More expensive.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Everything is more
Was a dumb
expensive.
question.
And some of the hot tip is that some of the markets have doubled in price. So it's not just about price, but some of the regions that they're looking at, the median housing price has doubled in 2-3 years.
Can I follow up with another dumb question? Like nobody else?
Anytime.
Thank you. Is the gap between pricing and income rapidly diverging?
I don't know that
Yes.
I can speak to the speed, but yes, there are, compared to the markets, and I'm not a data scientist, so I might be using the wrong terms. But the data markets or the housing markets that we measured in 2022, a whole new market has been added where the average housing cost is something like 1.1 million. So that wasn't even on the radar when we
Yeah.
mapped it 3 or 4 years ago, that it is now.
You'll be at the March meeting?
The
People
experts
who can
with
explain
MVA
it better
will-
than I can will be at the March meeting.
Yes. Yes.
Thank you.
Yeah, great questions.
And I would say, when we're building the agendas for these meetings, perhaps that's even if there's a desire to have someone come and share a little bit more about where that process is, I think you can request that. I don't think that we necessarily want to just set agendas that are putting things on you, and I think we, hopefully not to speak out of turn in any way, we've been really looking at how to have the policy board agenda and the agendas here have a stronger relation, so that what the policy board is talking about or has recently discussed or is coming up to discuss, that is somehow in alignment with this committee, as it is an outgrowth of TPO, you are tech TPO, so agenda suggestions, I think, are also welcome. I mean, this is your committee. We wanna make sure that when you come here, you feel like you've had something nutritious to take in besides lunch.
So if you feel like, hey, I would love to be a part of a CTAC delegation, come see me after. You don't have to raise your hand right now if you don't want to. We will be communicating with you between now and then, obviously, about details, registration, ways for you to help spread the word, and any potential distinct volunteer roles of what we might love for CTAC to be. But I'm really looking for you to just kind of exist and be visible and say hello and have your CTAC name tag so that we can say, hey, I care about this and I am the liaison to Plan RVA and the TPO about these things that we all care about here. And so if there's a citizen or a resident who's there who cares about it, they can have a face to put with that. And there was one more thing I wanted to say about that. Something our director of community development noticed last year, which actually was a surprise to me, is she said last year there were 20 different nonprofit and community organizations represented at our last symposium that she wasn't deeply familiar with. So in addition to getting the folks, I think, who know us, we are getting folks who care about this and want to come and maybe are not deeply embedded. And that's great because, again, we're trying to get in front of as many people as possible. So if you ask who the audience is, it's interested people who care about this kind of work. You don't have to be an expert, but we want people who care about and want to participate to come.
Bill, you had your hand up earlier. Do you still have a question or were you raising it for something else?
It's Bill.
Bill Dinsmore, sorry, online.
Problem, thank you. I just wanted to make a comment about the relationship between housing and transportation. Since I'm serving on multiple committees, one involving housing, one in transportation. In New Kent County, we have a unique situation in which we've got some large distribution warehouses that have opened up. AutoZone is open, and they employed about 350 to 400 employees. they have been getting workers as far away as Chesterfield County and Hampton Roads because we don't have housing available in Newcat that fits the income of what they're paying the warehouse workers in that distribution center. The salaries are ranging between $40,000 and $60,000, and there's nothing available in Newcat for them to live in. No apartments, no homes that they can qualify for, anything like that. So because they're having to come from such a great distance, Waterzone has already had over 100% turnover in employees. So there are two possible solutions. One is to build workforce housing, which is affordable for those warehouse workers, teachers, police officers, firefighters, who are all in that $40,000 to $65,000, $70,000 price range, so that we can have homes available that they can buy and rent. If we can't do that, then the second, maybe another better solution is to develop some sort of mass transit system that runs into these major work centers that come from Hampton Roads and come from Richmond. That's affordable. You know, commuter rail's the first thing I think of, but how expensive is that to build, and is that something we can plan on in the future? So there's a way that these two intersect. So you have to be familiar with what the housing price is facing right now with getting regular workers to come in. Not everybody can be an executive or a manager and make $110,000 a year. You know, most of the jobs that do our retail stores, are, you know, white or blue collar workers, they've got no place to live. So here we are trying to build up economic development, and we can't provide housing for the workers. So it's a very unique and serious and growing problem that we're all need to think about. That was what I wanted to say. Sorry.
Well, appreciate, no, that was, it's good context, it's good perspective for what we're looking at and thinking about. They gotta go hand in hand, so that's why we have the conversation for March. So, anyone wanna volunteer right now in advance,
To be the CTAC
just
delegation?
to put on the list?
I'll
Really?
volunteer.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Thanks, Eric. Hi. Don?
Since you mentioned my name, I guess I have to.
I'll second that.
The delegation will be there.
There you go.
Excellent. Okay, and feel free to let me know later as well. This is not the only time, but while we're getting excited about it, Charlie, thank you. Excellent.
Hanover will be there, right?
Well, you have to be, right?
Involved, I'll be there.
In Hanover, you have to.
And it's in your
That's right.
front yard, so.
Looking forward to seeing the rest of y'all there.
And so the sign up you said is not ready yet?
It's not ready yet. It'll probably be the end of January.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And there's a little time. right?
Yeah.
Watch a little way off, okay,
You'll get a personal
Yeah.
Yep.
alert about it.
Yeah.
okay.
And also if you register, if you're not subscribed to the newsletter.
We'll get it done. Awesome. All right, moving into the next section of looking forward to next steps. As James did a great job of sharing some of the things that his perspective on stuff, we're looking for a couple of volunteers on this committee to do the same for the next meeting. You don't have to go as in depth as James did, but anyone who wants to speak on anything. Aaron, you'll do it. I think we're looking for what, 3?
Well, I think we did the math, and if we wanted every member, locality and
You gotta do
organization
it.
You're in
To-
2029.
to get in, we'd have to have 3 at a meeting. So we're like, let's make space for 3 member shares, right? And it would be about something related to your organization or your locality that benefits this body, right?
Happy to do a mid-session update. By
Okay,
then, we should have asked crossover.
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
Dan.
okay,
Yeah.
yeah. And we meet 6 times a year, right? So we gotta get them all in, so.
Yep.
Yeah,
Can't we you just?
That was
point-
gonna be,
you
I
appoint-
was gonna volunteer James.
be like, we want them in one,
All
yeah.
right. Got it.
Yeah, Aaron's Chesterfield, right?
You
Yeah.
don't have to teach us how to do something. It's just talking.
Yeah, like what's relevant to your locality or your position as it relates to transportation in this body that we should know about? Right?
Yep.
We got Aaron for next meeting. Anybody else?
I can do Henrico.
I'm not volunteering, but to throw out something for Henrico, and I don't know if Henrico's here.
Gordon tonight.
Yeah.
My
It's all good, it's all good.
The Nelson property redevelopment, you've got part of that that's going in soon is the partnership with the Maggie Walker Trust for, I don't want to use the wrong term, subsidizing affordable housing, and that might be of interest, possibly a milestone guide for other communities.
Okay.
If you want to dig that deep, just a
Sure.
thought.
Okay,
Thank
Yeah.
you.
we can certainly do that, so I can get into it and report back
Yeah.
on that.
Are you adding yourself to next week?
Yes.
All right, love
Myself,
that.
Absolutely.
I'm great at volunteering other people.
Yeah, I appreciate that, Julie. Thanks so much. Yeah. Paybacks, you know,
And thanks for
we'll get to it.
Hey, back.
Absolutely. I gave you the cookie and then here we go. But there's also, I saw that Henrico just won a $15 million transportation safety grant. I don't know much about it, but I'll at least kind of report back into, I think they're using LiDAR for something on transportation. I think it's more pedestrian safety, I think was the issue on it, but I'll look into that as well, just.
Great.
All right.
And feel free to, I feel like, volunteer for Beyond March, right? If you're like, ooh, you know, the fall is the time where I've got stuff to share. We'd love to get that down so we know, because it is exciting to hear from you. And again, as we get to know each other and build this body together, having things that are relevant, as we learned, they all connect. So we're just keeping each other informed. So thank you.
Pathways and intersections. Thank you, John.
Yeah.
That was John Leonard's like suggestion way back when I was meeting individually. He's like, we gotta have networks, we gotta learn about each other. And so thank you so much.
Oh, sorry, Bill. 1 second. Bill Dinsmore on the.
Yes, I know the last meeting we had a pretty heavy conversation about the speed cameras going through New Kent County. And I've been in communication and working closely with Sheriff Lee Bailey, who's in charge of that program for New Kent. And I'd be happy to make a presentation to you briefly, 5 minutes or so, to give you a little bit of background and how that program has been successful in New Kent and what it's done to control traffic accidents and speed. So I can do that in one of the future meetings if you wish.
Bill, that'd be great. Yeah, that's three.
Are we talking about March or later? Would March be your,
Whatever suits your schedule.
okay,
So I think he's
wasn't
ready.
sure if you had it yet or, okay.
I think he's good.
Ollie, I'm not volunteering because I don't know anything about it. There's been you mentioned pedestrians, and there's been a spat of, we hope, a short-term spat of fatalities of pedestrians in the region.
Yeah.
That may be something that would be of great interest to this committee. And just wondering if we could reach out to someone or some department
Or VDOT.
or VDOT to find out what's the causation of this and what's being done to resolve the issues.
Yeah, that's a big question because I think it depends on so many factors. And I think many of you probably have seen that the city of Richmond created their own internal Department of Transportation. And so the mayor has stood up several actions that they're going to take in the city. I think some of the other, like you talked about Henrico's investment, no, that's housing, never mind.
Right.
No, transportation safety.
There's a grant.
Yeah. From a regional perspective, I think that safety is one of our goals and is a thing that we're always looking at. And as Kristen mentioned, that safety plan is something that, again, we're future looking. So it's not true that we don't care about what's happening now, but we're also trying to figure out how do we take this data that's happening now and build in better projects, better, let's choose the things that get us safety, right? And so how do we do that? So that's coming. And then a tidbit of future is a regional transportation safety messaging campaign is also something that we've been asked to work on from the technical advisory committee from the TPO. And so that's something that's coming a little bit later, but is another request for how do we have a comprehensive message about why this matters, what's being done about it, and what we can do as the transportation regional body. But I think some of that is a local conversation, right? It's who are your local reps, who are your local TPO board reps, right? Who are the elected officials that are on this body in the city, in Charles City, in New Kent? They would probably be a great person to ask that question to.
I'll throw this out too with DMV. I've had conversations with them over the years about bad players, people that are habitual offenders that have been involved
Mhm.
with these crashes and get their perspective on that as well.
Yeah.
Do you want to encourage you to follow the regional safety plan update? And, you know, there's some materials there now. There's some there's some mention of the safety messaging that we're developing that. The survey will be opening later on and as you know, in February and March. And you'll see some links to the current regional safety plan and there's some discussion about some things that are gonna be different. And Dan, of course, is here if you want to talk to him before you leave today. We don't have a presentation, but he's here.
Oh, I can't see him. I thought he left. That's why I was like,
He's
on Aaron.
Oh, okay, sorry. I thought you left. That's why I was like, oh, I would ask Dan, but he's not here.
There are some, even in the FAQs, some of our regional safety goals you'll find. So we really try to make each of these pages have enough robust information without overwhelming. Because again, they are for the general public and not for experts.
All right. Any other questions, comments from folks? Who are you gonna volunteer? Go ahead, Charlie.
Charlie.
Not to prolong the meeting, but while we're on the subject of housing, notice the progress across the street from the last time that we met.
Yes.
It's astounding. That's my closing comment. Thank you.
You're the one
good.
look at the building. Look at
Sounds
the
good.
building.
We hit these,
All right, final,
Sure, that's
final.
affordable housing.
Look, sure, at this stage, it probably is.
If it stops at this stage.
Yeah.
Very affordable. I don't think it will.
So final thing, just a quick reminder for our next meeting, which is gonna be Thursday, March 19th at noon here in this room. When you get the email, there will also be an opportunity for you to fill out what you want specifically for lunch. Please fill that out. If you don't, you may not have lunch when you get here at noon.
No, you
So-
won't have.
I'll just go
Well,
back to
I
that.
think staff, I
We
think
don't
staff
have
had a
magic
can of
secret
pretzels,
lunches.
or chips for champ, so it worked out okay.
Chips for chips.
trademark that, just for
There
champ.
you go, there you go.
Okay.
All right, greatly appreciate it, guys. Thanks so much for your time today. See you all,